I had no idea who Dean Withers was before all of this, but as soon as I saw him, I thought, yeah, it definitely gives All Lives Matter with a sprinkle of, I know some black people, so I'm finna talk about some black stuff so I can gain social capital in the black community. And it's crazy because this was his explanation for why he was crying about Charlie Kirk.
The first thing that invoked that reaction out of me was watching the up-close video of what had happened to him and how extremely violent it was, while then also learning that his wife and 3-year-old daughter were watching from the crowd. When this occurred, I momentarily placed myself in the shoes of his wife or 3-year-old daughter and how they had to watch that, and yes, that made me extremely emotional.
So what he's saying is that this is the first time that he had to witness anyone that looks like him experience something like that. Wow, it must be hard. You know who else that happened to? Philando Castillo. He was unalived for no reason in front of his daughter and his girlfriend at the time. And guess what? The police officer was acquitted. See, here's the thing. Black people have to see that level of violence against black people in the media all the time. And I said this before and I'm going to say it again. The reason they always have to release the body cam footage and the videos of what happened to black people is for white people to believe it. Because we as black people know, and it is our lived experience. So you're able to cope with it until the person looks like you. You put yourself in their shoes when the person looks like you. Damn, if it hit that hard for you, just imagine what black people experience when it's in the media almost every other day. Yeah. If you actually want to be an ally, this is the perfect time for you to step back and really do the work and evaluate what made you cry on live stream about this, but not every time that it happens to black people.
And the most performative male award goes to... I'm so glad people are finally waking up to Dean being nothing more than a grifter. It's so easy to tell people to have empathy when you do not belong to the demographic that man spent his whole life slandering and bringing violence against. He's a white guy trying to play hero. For him, this is a game who can afford to sympathize with oppressors, but us, the actual oppressors, have to deal with the consequences daily. Even his last words were transphobic and racist. Oh, but he has a wife, and too. He laid next to that man and his views and let it happen and gave him 2 children, who, by the way, did y'all know what he said about his daughter? Because I don't even think I could say it on here. But it goes along the lines of letting his daughter keep the baby of any man that decides to grip her. But I am not surprised, Dean, since you were a raging conservative racist yourself just 2 years ago. Clearly that wasn't paying the bills anymore. You guys are gonna learn to stop using political views as a form to excuse blatant racism that brings violence and danger to minority groups.
Because if you do make that line fall between the left and right, I will side with the right.
Whiteness is an inherently right-wing state of being because to uphold whiteness, to protect whiteness, you must have a right-wing ideology of eradication, extermination, genocide, etc. And many white people are showing us that they will always default to wanting to uphold themselves and their whiteness, aka a right-wing politic of the world. Whiteness does not exist in an egalitarian, just society. Whiteness was literally created in order to subjugate all of us. And I truly do mean all of us, because many white people are themselves subjugated by whiteness in that they were not always white. So to become white, they gave up something, their culture, their humanity, and were subsumed into that whiteness. One of the consequences of losing your humanity in order to become white is finding yourself in a situation in which you are mourning over a white supremacist. A white supremacist, mind you, who wanted other people to be eradicated. But in the view of whiteness, it is humane to mourn over somebody who upheld whiteness. That is the self-preserving state of being. If you uphold whiteness, you're going to mourn people who uphold whiteness, even when they're white supremacists that you claim to hate. Everything we've been seeing has been white people acting in self-preservation mode. And that tells you that they will always choose their whiteness over anything. And they'll convince you that that is the humane thing to do. Because to them, upholding whiteness is the humane thing to do. Humane towards themselves and their own little white communities that they never venture beyond. It's the same reason why you have many white people who can easily believe white genocide myths, but completely overlook real actual genocides going on in the material world. This is also exactly why I don't like when people say things like, it's not political, it's a genocide. What do you think carries that genocide on? It's politics. Believe it or not, there are people in that blue and white country that actually think Netanyahu hasn't gone far enough. What we're seeing right now, they want it to be worse. That's the right-wing politic. It is political. When people say things like, it's not political, it's just a matter of life or death, I'm like, what do you think governs life or death in this world? Politics. It's very political. Everything's political. The air you breathe is political. Me being able to make this video right now and talk to you is extremely political. We do not exist outside of our politic. And every single person claiming not to be political who has said anything about this entire situation, who has shed tears or not shed tears, who has mourned or not mourned, you are engaging in a political act. Living, existing, being born is a political act. You are an inherently political entity unto yourself, and you rid yourself of your own power when you say that you are not. Everything's political. This is all political. Get with the program.
Dean's followers tried to get my video taken down, but TikTok said, But the fact that you been at me like that make me want to get active. So let's go ahead and get into it. You are actively supporting a man that had a racist past, and because he's apologized for it while still multiple times doing things that are racist, y'all forgave him. Mind you, the people that he's been racist towards aren't even half of you bitches. He said on a live pretending that he was an indigenous person so that he can shut the mouths of indigenous people that were also on that live trying to educate him. Him and Parker were just playing up in Make America Great Again hats 2 years ago. I know you like to believe that growth is a quick process, but that motherfucker. A couple of months ago, him and his friends literally were getting shitted on by the entire TikTok because they scammed college students. They are grifters. Go look at his old videos where he's shitting on people for having more money than them, calling them poor. But that's y'all mans though. I'm not calling for a witch hunt or anything like that, but I want you to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to the people that y'all are supporting, when it comes to talking about your rights. That's a lot of influence. That's a lot of people who you are impacting with your word. And that is the same thing that people are saying when it comes to Charlie Kirk. People's lives are impacted by your words. Lives of the women and their families that lost their lives during childbirth. Lives of the people and their family that lost their life during injustice. The lives of the families that are being bombed and shot as we speak, while our government funds the war.
So I know you've seen this video of Dean Withers quite literally threatening to side with the right if the Charlie Kirk situation continues to go down the road that is currently going down towards.
Don't make that line be one between the left and right. Because if you do make that line fall between the left and right, I will side with the right.
But who is going to respectfully tell little bro that if he wants to do that, he can go ahead and do it? Because the last thing the left honestly need right now are inauthentic wolves in sheep's clothing. And don't let the accent fool you, okay? Most progressives outside the US could tell that this person wasn't actually for the cause the second that Dean Withers claimed to be a born-again leftist. Okay, we see right through this performativity. Like, there aren't already hundreds of thousands of progressive and leftist content creators that debate actively on these platforms and others. Do you honestly think that we need you? And I really hope that the Democratic left in America aren't so brainwashed to believe that this is the best that they could honestly do. Because like I said on my other account, the entirety of the international community can recognize how inauthentic Dean Withers is. So it's kind of alarming that you guys cannot.
I actually don't think it's that weird that Dean Withers cried on his stream. What I do find concerning is what he said on the stream after he was done crying. He said, don't make that line be one between the left and the right, because if you make that line fall between left and right, I will side with the right. I'm not shocked. This is a 21-year-old white male in America that probably sees more in common between him and Charlie Kirk than him and an immigrant, or him and a black woman, or him and a working class single mother or single father. I think people further on the left expect so much from these left-wing debaters and left-wing podcasters, but so many of them are actually right at the center. They lean slightly to the left of center. That's not the same thing as being left. He has such a large platform that so many of us could probably not even comprehend, and he's 21 years old. He was a teenager a few years ago. When I think about where I was in my political journey at 21 years old, I was still unlearning. I was still figuring things out. I was still learning about the patriarchy and white supremacy, and conservatism, leftism. I didn't even know what a leftist was when I was 21. When we're talking about left-wing media, these people are basically children. Dean is 21. That's why it's so crazy to have a platform at such a young age, because they are actively unlearning problematic things or they are being pulled further right. And just a side note, the fact that Dean Withers and people like Dean Withers are who we have on the left, I think it just shows that the Overton window has moved so far to the right.
Dean Withers' behavior since Charlie Kirk's necking is such a great example of how so many 8.5 by 11s don't mind challenging whiteness until it is time to challenge white supremacy. How so many 8.5 by 11s don't mind standing on the outskirts of their white privilege until it is time to either forsake said white privilege and receive less privilege, or use said privilege to benefit someone else other than themselves. Damien got on that video and said, if you make me have to choose between the left or the right, I'm going with the right. Now, I'm not surprised. He used to be a conservative, became liberal, and now is showing signs of wanting to go back to his roots. And that's the scary part. And you know, white people, y'all be so confused as to why the black community doesn't trust you all. And it's because despite your pale complexion, you all are chameleons. In the most sinister way. Y'all have the privilege to shapeshift whenever you see fit. Y'all have the chance to say, you know what, this liberal shit been real cute, real fun. I'm over it though. Whenever you feel like it's getting too real, y'all can take off that decor and go right on back to what's comfortable to you. Y'all can challenge your whiteness until it is looking you dead in the face, and then the real you shows up. And Dean Withers is displaying that reality beautifully. Bravo, bravo.
We are witnessing in real time a grifter allowing his mask to slip. Like, Dean is not only crying uncontrollably online, he is also crashing out to the extent in which he is offending his own base by throwing unwavering support and mourning to a man who does not believe that people who look like you and I should exist. And that if we do exist, we should be relegated to the very far corners of society and not be fit to exist in spaces and places that he was in. And Dean is not alone. We are witnessing a lot of individuals who for years have said nothing, who said that they weren't using their platform to be politically divisive, didn't want to raise social concerns because they were either in book talk or beauty. And they too are allowing their masks to fall in order to signal, right, to people like them, people who are upholding white supremacy, that they too are mourning their leader. And that's the thing, right, with people like Dean and similar people who look like Dean. When it comes down to it, white people who are claiming to be allies of the Black community, who claim to be allies of the LGBT community, who claim to be allies of the ableist community, it was an act. Because for them to mourn him in such a way while saying absolutely nothing about the Breonna Taylors of the world, the George Floyds of the world, the victims in Gaza, who we now estimate to be in the hundreds of thousands of people who have lost their lives. They're signaling to those folks that they are like them, that at the end of the day, their default is always going to protect whiteness at all costs, even if it makes their life unsafe.
And that's it, guys. We've come to the end of this episode. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Give this video a thumbs up, do all the nice things, hit the bell for notifications, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye.